Welcome to Focus Today, and of course in the last couple of days we've been watching all of the activity in Washington, D.C. and well, yesterday was an interesting day as the new Congress started and swore in a bunch of new members both in the House and the Senate. And John Boehner was reelected as Speaker of the House. Not by much, but he did hold the position. I am delighted to have with us today, back with us, the managing editor of Human Events magazine, Adam Tragone is with us today. In fact, hi Adam, we had your colleague John Gizzi with us the other day.
Yes, hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to see you. Well, listen, we all watched with interest as to whether or not the Speaker was going to retain his job, and he barely did so. What is this? How are you reflecting on this election?
It was expected. I know for some folks, especially more of the Tea Party section of the Republican Party, felt that it was that there was a chance and a possibility that Speaker Boehner would be unseated as Speaker of the House, but it never really came to fruition. I know Representative Tim Holzkamp of Kansas, who is a two-term congressman now, told us at Human Events yesterday that there was severe arm twisting and promises of losing committee posts for members that voted against the Speaker. He said to us that there was, at least as of Wednesday evening, early into Thursday, that there was an opportunity that Speaker Boehner could be unseated as Speaker of the House, but it never came to pass. I think folks were threatened by those remarks from folks within the Speaker's office and maybe the Speaker himself, and changed their vote accordingly.
Now, we've heard of the arm twisting and the threats of being removed from key committee positions and all of that. Obviously, that's just how the game is played, as unfortunate as it is. But could the Republican Party really handle the possibility of the Speaker being replaced?
I don't believe so, for the sole reason that I'm not really sure there is a Republican to follow in his footsteps that can bring it together, bring the party together legislatively. For all the misgivings that many Tea Party members of Congress and many Tea Party activists have for Speaker Boehner, he certainly is the only one or the best one to bring many factions of that now splintered House GOP together. I know many folks feel that Eric Cantor could be an alternative, but I just don't see it, especially when dealing with President Obama. I don't know of Speaker Boehner's relationship with the president, but from the books and the reports that have been written, especially the books in 2011 about the debt deal, Majority Leader Eric Cantor and President Obama don't really have a good working relationship from what those reports say. So don't see an alternative to John Boehner as Speaker of the House.
On the other hand, he receives a lot of criticism among Republicans for not really managing the power that he has and throwing a lot of obstacles at the president, even since the turnover of Congress in 2010 to where he is now. It seems like he did have the votes to pass a lot of bills that would have slowed the president down, and he didn't do a thing.
Well, I guess I'll play devil's advocate for the Speaker and say that he has, the House that is, sent tons of bills over to the Senate. And you'll hear staffers on the Speaker's side and House Republican side say that the Senate hasn't done enough to get most of that legislation passed in their body into the president. So dealing with a president that has not really a compromising bone in his body, and certainly a Senate Majority Leader that doesn't either, proves to be tough sledding for House Republicans, and certainly tough sledding for the Speaker to get anything done. I know former Speaker Newt Gingrich told us at Human Events a few weeks ago before Christmas that before the fiscal cliff deal passed, that the House Republicans should just go home and not come back for the Christmas season, and not vote on anything, and let the cliff happen, let everyone go over the cliff, and go from there, which, in hindsight, might not have been a bad idea for some folks. Certainly very ardent Tea Party and very conservative folks who didn't feel that this deal was good enough.
In the meantime, Speaker Boehner has said since his reelection that he's done dealing with the president. How did you interpret that?
Well, I think I interpret it as what I sort of just said, that it's difficult when you have not only many media outlets not giving the president much cover, or excuse me, not giving Speaker Boehner much cover, but having no compromising bone in President Obama's body and Senator Reid's body. It's difficult. I think it's just frustration at this point. I know there were stories and reports coming out that Speaker Boehner used some unflattering language to Senator Reid during the fiscal debate. So I think it's a lot of pent-up anger and frustration with having to do this every 2 months, it seems like.
Well, Senator Reid called him a dictator, and Speaker Boehner basically told him, to go. And so those are pretty harsh words, but it seems to me it's extremely polarized. Why is there this understanding, Adam, that, all right, the president and the majority leader in the Senate, Reid, are non-compromising? So why should the Republicans be compromising?
Right. I think that's sort of what Newt Gingrich told us before Christmas. There's really no need. But sadly, like I mentioned, the cover that many major media outlets give to the president and the Democrats by and large, it forces Republicans to act. They're always seen as the party of uncompromise and the party of obstruction. So that plays a little bit, but you could have heeded Speaker Gingrich's advice and not dealed and went home. But you face the repercussions in media, as we both know. Never many flattering words for Republicans for whatever reason for many.
The 9 that voted against the speaker, is there going to be some retribution there, or do you think that this thing will settle down?
I think it's going to have to settle down. I think that Speaker Boehner and House Republicans now need to look to the debt ceiling fight and the fight over the sequestration cuts, the cuts because of sequestration, as now the opportunity to bring the House Republicans together to fight against President Obama and Harry Reid, who now have no qualms in raising spending and not cutting any sort of programs or entitlements whatsoever. President Obama said on New Year's Eve that he wants to get rid of debt. It's quite a unsuccessful approach going forward if you have someone like the president saying no debt ceiling at all. So it's now for House Republicans to put or let sleeping dogs lie, I guess, and Speaker Boehner to go forward and try to deal with the debt and try to deal with spending.
Adam, I watched yesterday Nancy Pelosi do her speeches, and I'm thinking, boy, she was just so anxious to be in front and act like she was in control of the House again. And her introduction to Speaker Boehner was anything but, I don't know. It just seemed like to me it was kind of like, I got to introduce him, but I'm really in charge here.
Yeah, I sort of felt the same way. You weren't alone in that for sure. That's how it's always been. It seemed like with Minority Leader Pelosi. I didn't find her comments gracious at all. I thought they were all pretty fake and bland towards the speaker. It seems some animosity there. I can understand why she lost the speakership to John Boehner and Republicans in 2010. So that doesn't really surprise me.
Yeah, it was just very disgraceful. Let me ask you this. We now go back and see what happened on New Year's that the Senate got the 150-page bill. 3 minutes later, they voted on it, so nobody read it. We're right back to, well, let's pass it and then we'll find out what's in it. And now we are finding out what's in it. I mean, the irresponsibility of our elected officials has never been higher. How could we possibly allow this stuff to happen?
I'm with you. I feel as dejected as some about this. It's just constant. It's a constant kicking of the can down the road. And you really, if you have to look anywhere, I suppose, it's the lack of accountability that many of the members of Congress have for their districts and the people that they represent. Thanks to redistricting, I think, by and large, on both sides of the aisle, many of these institutions, for lack of a better word, institutional congressmen and congresswomen, don't have to face re-election more often than not. The districts are made up in such a way that no threat really can be put onto them, so they don't really need to represent the views of their districts, since there won't be a challenge from the other side. So I think that in and of itself is one of many reasons why the majority of folks now in Congress are there so long and not really accountable back home in the districts because of redistricting.
Well, Adam, thank you for what you do, and thank you for all of your team there at Human Events. You guys do a wonderful job, and we'll get together again as they approach now the debt ceiling, and we're going to revisit this whole thing again, you know.
Yeah, I'll be glad to come back on and talk about it. Hopefully Republicans and conservatives can get a deal that they like from that, because we have been spending incessantly, and it has to come to a head at some point, I hope.
Yeah, again. All right, thank you, Adam, and best to you and your staff and everybody there at Human Events. God bless you. We'll have you back soon.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.